What's going on, guys? This is Kaishro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So for our video today, we're going to cover another OCG metagame tier list. So as usual, this tier list was made by Rai_10Y on his Twitter and was posted by ESDR. Thanks for the continuous patronage and release of quality OCG content for the both of them. So these are the decks that are performing very well on the first week of August on this July 2023 OCG format. So the list of Agov or Age of Overlord made some really distinct and impact towards the OCG metagame. We have things like the Diabell Star engine, the Sinful Spoils engine that we have here. And then also we have Horus that gave some light or buff for other decks to shine, like on the decks here on the C tier. So we will discuss each deck here and on each of their tiers here from S to C. So now we will start at C tier. At first we have Orcus Horus. So this deck benefits from discarding mechanics of the Horus engine by discarding the Orcus cards to gain card effects and advantages on the graveyard using the Orcus strategy. And also I think this deck is very decent. I think this okay deck. It can set up a couple of interruptions and negations on the first turn. You can turbo out rank 8 monsters on this Horus engine that you can summon Harbinger or something like Photon Lord on this rank 8 toolbox. And also you have Orcus, we have Galatea and Crescendo set up, and sometimes Dingirisu. So I think this is a very solid deck, pretty nice mid-range deck on the format. But ranking this on C tier, I don't think that's justifiable on this C tier already. I think that this is a decent deck, but I don't think it is C tier worthy that very soon, like we are seeing right now. But to be fair, I have seen a lot of Orcus Horus tops on tournaments, but those tournaments are not that big enough for me. I think those tops are from very small and local tournaments only. But I think it's a pretty good mention here on the C tier. I think it needs a shake up for this OCG metagame tier list that we have Horus Orcus here on C tier. So we will put that deck on the pedestal. If this deck continues to perform, I think it can really be well deserving here on the C tier. But for now, I would put something like Sprite Rai Brigade or Manadium on C tier here, or even Salamangreat, because I think those decks are solid. And also Dragon Link on the C tier. I really think Dragon Link is a very solid C tier deck here over than Orcus Horus, because Dragon Link recently just won World Championship. As we all know, Polly Aronson won the tournament using Dragon Link. So I think Dragon Link is a very solid deck to include here. But yeah, I think it's fine as well to have Orcus Horus here. Then moving forward, we have Therion Horus. So this is a pretty justifiable one because there's a lot of tops of Orcus, rather Horus Therions here on the C tier. I have seen a lot of tops of this deck recently, and also this deck capitalizes on the negation mechanics that we have on the Regulus, on the Therions, and also on the Horus. As I have said earlier, this brings out the Photon Lord and the Galaxy Harbinger Dragon. So yeah, you can capitalize on negations with this deck. It can also do an OTK easily because it capitalizes as well on rank 8 place. You have things like the Dragulbion and the Numeron Dragon that can easily OTK using this deck. So I think this is a pretty solid deck. It can go first and set up negates. It can also go second with a very huge attacking monster on their side of the field. So I think this is a pretty solid shout out here on the C tier, this Therion Horus. So yeah, I do agree with this one. Then moving on, we have Branded. I think this is pretty low for the standards of Branded. As we all know, Branded as well is represented on the World Championship. We have Akira Hasegawa that piloted Branded, as well as the Duelist Cup main event champion Lin piloted Branded as well on the tournament. So I think it's a pretty massive disrespect for Branded to be put here on the C tier. I think Branded is much more higher than C tier. To be honest, I would put Dragon Link here or something like even Unchained on the C tier. But I would not put that disrespect on Branded on this C tier. I would put Branded at the very least of the top of B tier on this list, or even low A tier. But C tier for Branded is kinda low for me. But that's just me. I think Rai_10Y probably knows better than I am on the metagame. So I will leave this thing on his hands on this Branded C tier mention. But yeah, Branded is pretty okay. I think it's a very well tested deck. I think Branded has been proven for a better half because this deck has been topping since 2021 and it's already 2023 and we can still see Branded on the metagame. So yeah, I think the deck is very potent on adapting, and also I think Branded has a very good overall ceiling. It can really overwhelm a lot of decks right now in the format. Mirror Jade is very insane. Gugnol is very insane. And the only problem that I'm seeing with Branded is the deck kinda loses to itself. You know what I mean? I think Branded can be subpar on certain occasions when they don't draw the good hands or subpar hands only. I think that way Branded can be very underwhelming. But nonetheless, I think this Branded is still very strong on this 2023. So yeah, that's for C tier decks. So the only thing that I would shift here are the Horus Orcus replacing with Dragon Link, I guess. So moving on, we have B tier. Exo Sister on the B tier. I really agree with this one. Exo Sister can hurt a lot of decks on the format. We have the Sinful Spoils engine that are having graveyard interactions, and we also have the Earth Good stuff here on the Adamant Spate or Earth Good stuff. There's a lot of graveyard effects on that deck, and we also have Tearlaments on the metagame. So yeah, I think Exo Sister is a very good meta call deck that you can pilot on the format, especially if your locals or your metagame are leaning towards graveyard decks like the Tearlaments and even the roguish decks like Sprite Tri Brigade and Dragon Link. I do think that Exo Sister will be a very good deck on that particular metagame. So yeah, I think I pretty agree with this one on the B tier Exo Sister. I think Exo Sister is a massive deck that can stop those graveyard decks on the format. So yeah, I think this is a very justifiable mention here for them. And then next we have Vanquish Shoal on the B tier. I would put Vanquish Shoal on the A tier, to be honest. I have seen plenty of tops of Vanquish Shoal lately. Vanquish Shoal has been doing a good job on representing them on the metagame. I think I would regard Vanquish Shoal as the 5th or 6th best deck on the format right now, if you're going to ask me. So I would put Vanquish Shoal higher than Runic here, for example, because Vanquish Shoal has been steadily moving on a pace towards to top 5 best deck on the format. Vanquish Shoal has been steadily gaining traction lately, and many players are enjoying this deck. I have a couple of friends here in the Philippines that are playing Vanquish Shoal right now, and they are pretty much enjoying the deck. And they also claim that Vanquish Shoal is very strong right now, and I would agree as well. I think if you are skilled at the game, I think Vanquish Shoal will really reward your skills and efforts towards the mechanical side of the things on this competitive game. If you think you are mechanically skilled, you are technically good on playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I think Vanquish Shoal is very good for you, a perfect match deck for you to capitalize for your very good skills on this game. So moving on, we have Adamant Spate or Earth Good stuff, or 60 card Earth GS. So I think it's also a solid shout out here for the Earth Good stuff to be on B tier. I think this deck, if not interrupted or the opponents doesn't have answers for the combo of Earth Good stuff, I think this is the deck that can set up the most insane and crazy board right now in the format. It can set up a lot of negations, and it can also play through many hand traps on the format. If you don't draw the nuts or the silver bullets for this deck, I think you will get overwhelmed by the sheer power and ceiling of this deck on this format. So yeah, I think this is a very good deck when you're going first, when you're pretty lucky on a die roll, especially if you are always winning the die roll. I think this deck is very good for you. And also trusted pilots of this deck like Wang Chaching, the world champion 2018 and runner-up 2019 also pilots this deck. So you can vouch for this deck that many players, many great players are trusting their might for this deck. So yeah, I think it's a pretty decent here on B tier. Then moving on, we have A tier. At first, we have Runic. So many players are dropping their Cosmic Cyclone. I think that's the main reason why Runic is very high up here. Because when players are disrespecting this Runic strategy, I have said that a couple of times already on my previous videos. If players start disrespecting Runic on the metagame, I think Runic can definitely give them a hard time because this deck decks out the opponent, stalls for time to gain LP, to win on time. So yeah, it's a pretty toxic deck to deal against. And when you don't prepare against this deck, I think you will have a hard time to counter this deck, especially when you're not running Cosmic Cyclone, when you don't have back row outs, which is the case right now. There's a lot of players that are not running back row hate towards their side deck, and some players are not even running Harpy's Feather Duster right now. So yeah, I think Runic can definitely be A tier on that scenario when players don't respect back row. Especially Runic are running floodgates like Rivalry. There can be only one goes in match, all of those, and it can also main deck Shifter and those turn skipping cards on the main deck. I think this is a very good deck if you are really trying to expose the format right now, and also if you want to go safe in a sense, if you don't want to get countered by many players. I think Runic is the best bet for you to play on this format because players are preparing against purely Rescue Ace, Tearlaments, and Labyrinth. They are siding those cards that can counter those decks that I have said earlier. So yeah, I think their slots are occupied by the counters for the S tier decks here on the format. That's why Runic is pretty much what they call this, have leeway to perform. And then next we have Labyrinth here on A tier. I would tell that I'm pretty disappointed for Labyrinth because I thought that having Arias will definitely make them the best deck on the OCG right now. Reading Arias on first hand or on paper, I think that's a very massive upgrade for the Labyrinth. But as far as I'm seeing things right now, many players are still skeptical on playing Arias on the Labyrinth. Many players on Labyrinth are still playing with the usual Unchained extra deck and the usual Hand Trap and Furniture Labyrinth. And many players are ditching the Arias. Some players do play Arias, but I think the better half of the players are playing on a usual Labyrinth with Unchained extra deck. So yeah, it's pretty hard to tell if Arias really did help Labyrinth, but yeah, I think it's up to in the air right now if players will innovate a deck list that can really optimize and utilize the Arias. I think Labyrinth will go higher on this tier list, but as things stands, I think Labyrinth is a pretty decent A tier deck here on this metagame. So moving towards the S tier, we have Sinful Spoils Tearlaments. So this is a very solid deck. I think there's a lot of innovations on Tearlaments lately. We have the Sinful Spoils package on the deck that gave them some negation protection on the Tearlaments, and also some players are playing Horus on the engine on this deck, and also some players are also utilizing Visas, Starfrost, and Scareclaw engine towards this Tearlaments. So I think many players will still experiment and do some crazy line of plays and combos to really incorporate the modern Tearlaments right now on this mid-year of 2023. I cannot believe how sturdy and evergreen these Tearlaments after all of those hits on the previous ban list, the past 3-4 ban lists that definitely struck Tearlaments. It really made nothing against Tearlaments, to be honest. Players still finds way to improve the deck, to make the deck competitive, to make the deck viable, to make the deck the best on the format. It's really crazy, to be honest, at this point. So yeah, I would not doubt Tearlaments after this metagame, because I have always doubted Tearlaments since the ban of Kit Kalos. I have thought that Tearlaments is unplayable or Tearlaments is very bad on the format, but I am proven wrong every metagame. So yeah, I will really believe on this Tearlaments deck now, to be honest. So yeah, on S tier we have Tearlaments. I think it's a solid choice here. So moving on, we have Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. So Rescue Ace really improved under the Diable Star engine of the Sinful Spoils. It gained consistency and resiliency. They now have more options to play on using the Diable Star engine to make the deck more consistent. You now have a lot of starters right now on the deck. It can really boost your consistency using this Diable Star engine. And if you're not using Diable Star or Sinful Spoils engine on Rescue Ace, you are missing out a lot on this deck. It is very insane on Rescue Ace. Sometimes it made me think that Diable Star or Sinful Spoils are made for Rescue Ace, for them to be the best deck on the OCG format. I hope it's not the case, but yeah, I have given up on playing Rescue Ace because Rescue Ace will eventually get hit from the balance. That's why I sold the deck already. And also the Sinful Spoils engine is a very good inclusion towards the deck. So I really predict that this deck will become the best deck on this format. So I would disagree with this one, purely higher than Sinful Rescue Ace. I think Sinful Rescue Ace is the best deck right now in the format. There's no contest for me in terms of consistency. I think this is the best with purely having R1 Sleepy Memory. I think Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace is the most consistent of all the decks here on this tier list. I think Exosister would compare for the consistency and even purely, but no, I think Sinful Rescue Ace is the most consistent out of the all decks here on this tier list. So yeah, if I'm going to make this tier list, I would put Sinful Rescue Ace at the top of this S tier. But yeah, moving on, we have Purely as the number 1 deck here on S tier on this metagame tier list. So I would not defy this inclusion of S tier Purely, because Purely has been very successful for the most part of the big tournaments on the OCG. We have the Duels Cup main event. It is won by Purely, by Lin, and also the Japan Championship tournament are also won by Purely. So there's no contest or doubt that Purely will perform on the biggest of ever tournaments on this OCG format. So yeah, I think Purely is a very solid choice here on S tier. I would just not think that it is higher than Sinful Rescue Ace. But yeah, I think Expurlinor is very insane, still very insane, even though there's a lot of players that are siding to out the Noir on this format. I think Noir is a pretty decent and solid option to win the game. Noir can instantly win you games on this Purely strategy. So yeah, on S tier we have Purely. So I would just put I think Purely here on the after Sinful Rescue Ace, or even after Sinful Tearlaments, because I would think that Sinful Tearlaments are still kinda better than Purely. But yeah, I think it is what it is. So yeah, on C tier we have Orcus Horus and Therion Horus and Branded. On B tier we have Exosister, Vanquishol, and Earth Good Stuff. On A tier we have Runic. So on A tier we have Labyrinth, and S tier we have Sinful tier. On S tier we have Sinful Rescue Ace and Purely as well. So that's the metagame tier list that Rai_10y made. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you did learn a thing or two, and hit the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed on my YouTube channel, and hit the like button if you like this kind of content. So see you on the next one. Peace.